So I'm willing to use also the treated wastewater. So in that sense, I was quite positive about this development, and I thought, well, if they are willing to do it, it can be used for this allotment garden development as well.
Please.
Thank you. The average lifetime of a camp in the region is between 15 and 20 years minimum. People sometimes improve their livelihoods by moving away from the camp itself. Was there any analysis on potential scenarios for providing larger areas for cultivation and better sanitation so that the economic integration will be not constrained but the limitation of land and access to land? Thank you.
Sure, that's a very important remark, and thanks for asking this, because say improving the welfare and livelihood of refugees is not only allotment gardens, but this has to be a complete package. And from what I understood, Jordan does a very good job here, and they really offer education, hygienic programs, and they are actually now building even a sewer system in the camp. So in that sense, they really improve the livelihood on different fields. And this was only zooming in on one of the possibilities to get it better. Yes.
If you allow me, as a Jordanian in this regard, actually we usually offer the land for the public for cultivation and crop cultivations. For example, in Zatari, we as a government provide the land free of charge for the farmers as new steps for the government to support the local community in order just to come up and cope with the financial and economical situation being addressed in the, for example, in the Mafraq and Zatari area. So this is a kind of contribution from the government to the local community, and there is a lot of stories and contribution from different sectors here in Jordan to just support local community with their daily services. For example, as he said, that we start now, the government start building a new network, water and wastewater network inside the Satari camp. This will enhance the quality of water produced for the wastewater irrigation and etc. So unless there is no question, I will move to the third speaker. Thank you, Mr. Byrne, for your presentation. And allow me to invite Mr. Marielle. Ms. Marielle, she will talk about WASH innovation in Lebanon with his colleague, Mr. Paul. And she represents World Vision in Lebanon and Jordan itself. Marielle, let me just introduce short. She's a WASH expert advisor to the World Vision in Cyprus and Middle East. She's also worked in IRC, International Water and Sanitation Center in the Netherlands. You have 20 minutes with your colleague, sir, Mr. Paul, for the presentation and 5 minutes for questions. Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I realize it's the last session and you're probably pretty raw of having to listen to everyone. So try to keep this very short and sweet.
Could you please just close to the mic?
Oh. I just said I presume you're all pretty raw from having to listen to all the presentations throughout, and it's the last session. So I'll just try to keep this very simple and concrete, and just some ideas and tips on the work that we're specifically doing, and hopefully create some ideas and potential linkages of where you might see yourself linking up with that which we were doing. So specifically, I'm setting the scene now on some of the key work that World Vision has been focusing on, and then we have a specific case study for Lebanon. World Vision is a humanitarian Christian organization, around 5,000 staff members around the world. It's interesting to note that they've created a new regional post here for WASH, meaning that there's quite a lot of emphasis on WASH issues in this area. And I think that creates for a new dynamic in terms of how we're looking at WASH and the types of partnerships that we're also reflecting on. In other words, looking more at responses in a politically, economically and socially fragile area of the world. And I'm trying to get to the next slide, and it's not allowing me to. There we go. Hey, now it's. Oh, no, not good. Not sure why that happened. Yeah, so just the bigger picture around WASH. One of the areas, and having had the opportunity and I do see that as an opportunity of being in the sector for some 20 years, is we realize the importance of reflecting not just on households, and a lot of the emphasis around WASH needs to go beyond this region. So what World Vision growing experience in non-household settings has revealed for us that there really is a need for achieving programming targets, and there's a need for more governmental support, stakeholder participation, and project funding and institutional support at both the national and international level. As a key NGO in this sector, the question is how we're going to go about this. And as I said to you, the post here has emerged for some half year now, and I'm really getting nervous to go to the next page. Seriously, what did you press on? Just enter? No, and if I do page down, it doesn't do that. Oh, moet je gewoon deze doen?
Of deze, sorry. Deze.
Oh, deze. Yeah, it'd be useful to get the instructions next time. Thank you. All right, got it. No problem.
I think you should.
No, we got it.
This one?
No,
Okay.
that's good. Thank you. All right. So for the evidence-based piece of work, one of the aspects that is absolutely critical is when we talk about universal WASH, there's been a great tendency to think only about households. Over the last, I would argue, 15 years, there's been more emphasis around schools. Over the last, which UNICEF has picked up. Over the last 2 years, it's been around healthcare facilities, and we know that, which has been taken over by WHO, and we have experience by UNHCR around refugee camps. But one of the fundamental points as raised by all of our authors so far is the importance of evidence base. So that's something that we're going to be spending more effort and time on in the next year. So to play a key role with gathering and sharing evidence around the impact of WASH in non-household settings, in schools, healthcare facilities and refugee camps. And this evidence will provide a critical bedrock for advocacy, sharing and knowledge and consensus building. Now, when we look at our schemes, what we'll be reflecting on is specifically around child protection and child access to basic education. So really looking at a combination of hardware, the type of hardware that are in schools, healthcare facilities and refugee camps, and also the types of software aspects that are in these areas. Our hypotheses are threefolded. So within the context of schools, we're focusing on the more likelihood of improving physical conditions of children than the physical improvement of children's health who are exposed to our program, and also those who are able to perform better through attendance. Within the context of refugee camps, we're focusing on our World Vision WASH programming, also improving health conditions. And in the third one, for the healthcare facilities, also showing that the WASH interventions are, specifically for neonatal care, are showing improvements over time. All of the WASH schemes that we're focusing on are obviously relevant in terms of their community focus. There's a strong focus also on the waste and water conservation aspects. The interventions specifically are going to be in Afghanistan, Jordan, Keri, and Lebanon. And the bottom line is, in terms of results that we hope to get, is to reflect on improvement of wash facilities and also the so the hardware aspect itself as well as the hygiene promotion aspect itself. I'm just giving you this page. Now I have to state something else. What we're going to, where you go onto this website, you'll see all the information that we have on the different countries. You'll see all the information that we have on water scarcity issues, on the wash away from homes, WebExes and upcoming learning events. There are a number of WebExes that we have every month. So we've had one with WHO on healthcare facilities. We've had another one with UNHCR and refugee camps. Tomorrow there is a WebEx that we'll be holding on water scarcity issues. We have the Arab Water Council on board with us. We have a colleague from UNESCO-IHE and ourselves. We have an upcoming learning event, so moving from humanitarian towards sustainable wash services that last, which we're doing with UNICEF in September. I.e., have a look at the website. For those of you who are also more interested in our water and our waste aspects, there's a paper on that as well. I've done a more general introduction now so that it can more specifically go into the context of a Lebanon experience, which my colleague Paul will go into. So if you have any further questions, please come to me and I can provide the papers and the links as well to the specific sub-themes. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Paul, actually, he's an engineer background and he has more than 20 years in experience. He has a master in science from Paris, Italy, and in agricultural engineering. So you have 10 minutes, Mr. Paul. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. I will be giving you an idea about the interventions that World Vision is doing in Lebanon for the hosting community as well as for the Syrian refugees in Lebanon. As Ben was saying, that in Lebanon we have about 1,500,000 Syrian refugees registered. So the number is much bigger, but it represents about 50% of the Lebanese community. World Vision is doing different kind of project for hosting community as well as for the refugees, as we have been working in Lebanon since 1975 continuously with local communities as well as responding emergency response if any war or any disaster happened for the community. So one of the programs that we are doing for the Syrian refugees is WASH in ITSs, which we are currently covering about 244 ITS. An ITS is informal tented settlement, which can be from 10 tents up till 400 tents. Currently, we are reaching about 30,000 people, and the services that we are providing is provision of water, provision of latrine and sanitation, in addition to dislodging for those latrine, as well as flood mitigation in the especially in winter time when there is flooding, and we are cleaning the river and making some fences for the river, because we got some cases where children are falling into the water and this is causing some damage or issues for them. So to give you an idea about the current situation of an ITS or Hello. Hey. Okay. So to give you an idea about the informal settlement, it's a little bit different than the informal settlements that we can see here in Jordan, in Azraq or Zaatari camp. The living condition are very tough. The Lebanese government do not allow to do any infrastructure work within the ITSs. That's why this is the 5th year and we are still providing for the ITSs water trucking as well as dislodging and different type of wash activities that is costing much more money and we are not able to connect to public sectors. So now I will be showing you a 90-second movie how we do a latrine per household. Okay, this was one of the interventions that we are doing with refugees. Now going into the work that we are doing for the hosting communities and the refugees. So one of the projects that we are doing in a partnership with the Bika Water Establishment is funded by the European Union and in 2 different community, urban one and rural community. The project is about to install about 40 kilometers of water pipelines, including main lines and house connection for the household. We are reaching about 3,400 households. In addition to rehabilitation of the water pipeline, we are doing also rehabilitation in wash in schools, in public health sectors. We did also a media campaign in support for the water establishment and kind of make awareness for the water users as well as for the children in schools on the proper use of the water and water saving as well as hygiene promotion. So this is some photos from the project construction. A different kind of project that we are running is funded by BMZ, and we are doing on this project a sanitation network, a sewer line for about 12 kilometers in 2 different communities, where we are installing a totally system reaching a sewage treatment plant in 2 different areas. In addition to that, we are working also on awareness sessions, education materials as well, and we will be done with this project by July 2018.
1 minute left, please. 1 minute.
Okay. So a different type also of interventions that we are doing is installation